Welcome to Worthy Soul, and if this is not your first time, welcome back. My name is Danye Elaine, and sometimes life is just hard to survive. Just surviving is a miracle sometimes. If we were to hear our own story from somebody else and they told us that went through that, we might be looking at them like, how did you get through that? Like, I would have never imagined, I could never imagine myself getting through what you've been through. And I don't know why it's so hard for us to recognize it, but sometimes it is. Sometimes it's hard for us to just really be like, I'm a walking miracle. Like, I am a walking miracle. And my pastor and mentor, Dr. Darius Daniels, once said, but sometimes your miracle isn't just seen in your deliverance. Sometimes your miracle is seen in your survival, which is so true and so key. And I think that maybe sometimes we don't recognize our survival as a miracle because it's not as mighty as deliverance of something. But sometimes it is. Like, sometimes literally our survival is deliverance through a scary season, deliverance through a season of like stuff was just happening left and right, and you felt like you was drowning and you just did not know how you was gonna survive, and things just started happening and coming together for you, working out. It may have not completely taken you out of that season, but it helped you to get to the next day. And it's important for us to really recognize that when we reflect on the things that we've been through in life, is that some of the stuff, it's literally a miracle that we got through it. And there was literal miracles happening left and right in order for us to get through it. And I think sometimes it can be hard for us not to recognize those things in our survival as a miracle because we allow other people to kind of minimize our survival, right? Or we see other people going through things that we feel like is way worse, way their situation is way bigger than ours, and what they have to go through is way more impactful than what we've been through or what we're going through. But at the end of the day, what you go through matters to you in your life. So just because it does not reflect or look like somebody else's that looks way tougher, it does not mean that your season and your situations are not tough for you. And we have to really always remember that our life is key no matter what somebody else is going through. And just because somebody else's story seems harder or somebody else's story seems a little more devastating, it does not take away from the quality of our life. It does not take away from the things that we've been through, because the things that we're going through, it could be having the same impact on us that the other person's situation is having on them. And when we allow other people to minimize what we've gone through, that's another reason why we don't always see our survival as a miracle, right? Because we could tell somebody like, yeah, I'm going through this and I'm going through that, or I went through this and I went through that. And the first thing that they might say is, well, you got through it, so that's all that matters. And they don't give you the room, or you don't allow yourself the room to recognize the things that you went through, to recognize that, yes, I survived it. And that is the very miracle, right? Is that I survived it. And without a lot of the doors or a lot of things that God did for me to survive it, I wouldn't be here. Like, I just would not be here. I wouldn't be in the state that I'm in. I wouldn't be looking like I haven't been through nothing because of God. And so I think that's another reason why it is important for us to be able to reflect and recognize the survival that we've been through as literal miracles from God. Because not only are we going to be able to endure and persevere through other things in life that we are going to face, but it also will make it a little bit easier for us to persevere and endure through those things, because we already recognize that God has done so many miracles for me this far. Of course, He can do another one. And it helps us to have faith in Him as well, because now we already know, like, what I've been through and what I got through, it was a miracle. And if I need another miracle right now, He already did one, so of course He's going to do another one. And it also helps you to have faith in yourself as well, because we have to really realize, like, when I was going through those other things that were miracles that I survived, I didn't think that I was going to be able to get through them. I wasn't able to see a way out. I was not able to, I was not able to see literally to the next couple minutes. I was just so sometimes paralyzed with fear and anxiety and like stress and things that come in seasons where we feel like we need a miracle, where we feel like, Lord, if you don't come through for me right now, I don't know. I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. I don't know what those next couple of minutes are going to bring. So it's definitely key that we remember that just because our miracles don't look like the miracles that we see in the Bible, or our miracles don't reflect the miracles that other people have endured or witnessed, does not mean that what we've gone through is not a miracle. Especially when we can look at our situation and say, if I had known that I was going to go through that a couple years or a couple months or even a couple days or a couple hours before I went through it, I would have said that I was never going to get through it. And I probably would have said, when I get to that moment, I'm gonna throw the towel in before I get to it, because I already know that I cannot get through that. When we look at situations and we can say that, that's literally a reminder that what we got through was a miracle. What we survived was a miracle. And understanding that we need miracles. Like, we are all gonna need a miracle here and there. And I've literally seen miracles. I've gone through miracles, like all those things, and me reflecting on those miracles just really give me hope for my future, to know that I can get through it. Like, miracles are real. Let me make sure that I check in with the Lord and let him know that I see you, God. Like, I see the miracles that you've done in my life, and I know that as long as I try to walk with you and I try to be with you and I learn more and more about you, I'll also be able to recognize more and more miracles, because I'll understand that that's you. Like, you did that. You helped me get through that. You helped me survive. You were there with me in the times where I didn't have anybody else. You know, you were there with me in the times where I didn't want to explain my situation to somebody else, where I didn't want to ask for help, or where I just didn't want to talk about it. I just I just wanted you to fix it, and the only person that I could talk to about it was you. And now that I see that in those seasons where the only person that I was talking to about it was you, and I see that I survived it, and I not only survived it, but sometimes I did way better than I could even think or imagine, I know that it was a miracle. And so it's just really important that we recognize that. And I think another reason why it's sometimes hard for us to recognize our survival as miracles, because a lot of times we do things and we go through things and we feel like I have no other choice, right? Like, I have no other choice but to survive it. I had no other choice but to survive it. So of course I survived it. And so then we minimize, once again, the things that we've been through, because we feel like if there's no other choice, then of course I was going to survive it. So that's not, I didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing spectacular. I didn't do nothing great. I just did what I needed to do. But that's not true. Because a lot of times, sometimes, most times, not most times, but a lot of times, there's other people don't choose to do it. You know, other people, they don't survive it. They don't get through it. And sometimes it's because they just sort of just like, they don't have it in them, they don't know how to, or they just don't want to. And so it's not always that you survived it because you had no other choice, because giving up is always a choice. You just chose not to. You chose to take that out of the equation as a choice and say, the only choice I have is to do it. But just because you made that your only choice, it does not take away from the fact that it was still a miracle. And like I said, when we want to see a miracle, we have to recognize the miracles that we've already been through. So sometimes, as this quote said, as my pastor said, and mentor, Dr. Darius Daniels, just because it's not a deliverance situation, just because you weren't delivered from something, what you survived is still a miracle. And a lot of times there are people around us watching us survive these things and recognizing the miracles in those situations. And they have to bring it to our attention sometimes. And that has happened to me. um, a couple years back, one of my friends had reached out to me, and they were going through a situation with their husband. They were contemplating divorce, and they just kind of had reached out to me, and they wanted to talk to me because, and this is not verbatim paraphrasing, but they were just like, I see you go through your divorce, and I see how you have come out from it, and I see that you're doing fine, you're doing good, and I just really, wanted to see if we could, have a little talk, and maybe you could help me. And I just want to make sure I'm weighing out my options and that I'm making the best decision possible. And when she brought it to my attention that it was like, you're doing good, I'm like, I want to learn from you because of what you're going through and what I know you went through and what I seen you go through, and now I see you on the other side of it. It was like she seen something in me, like I was a miracle, and I did not recognize it for the very reason of I felt like I had no other choice. Like, it was like I had to get this divorce. Like I had ran out of all my options. Like that was my only option at that point. Yes, it was a hard decision for me to make. Of course, I went through a lot of emotions when I made it, but I knew that I had to make it. And when she brought it to my attention of like, I see how you're doing on the other side of it. In my head, I was kind of like, of course, of course I'm gonna be doing fine. I left. I had to do fine. Like the other side had to be better. But it also helped me to recognize that just because I felt like the other side had to be better, it does not mean that the other side was guaranteed to be better. And sometimes people go through divorce, and when they say divorce could be like a little death, and you go through the same emotions that you go through with death, in a sense, they wasn't lying. Like, it's not, I don't think that the impact is as devastating as a death because that person is lost. But just the different emotions and the loss is similar. I'll say that it's similar. It reflects a lot of different areas of grief are reflected in both death of a person and death of a marriage, aka divorce. But it definitely has no impact on losing an actual person to death. So I do want to clarify that. Not at all. But divorce definitely is painful, and I definitely recognize and understand why some people are not the same afterwards. Why some people, especially when you don't want the divorce, it can be very impactful. But even when you do want the divorce, it can still be very impactful and hard to get through, especially while you're going through it. And I recognized that when she had told me, and she was like, I want to like, ow! I truly was honored. I'll say that because it was just like, Lord, I'm just doing what I have to do to get through life. I'm just doing what I have to do to get to another side. But I'm grateful that me doing what I have to do was able to impact somebody else and give them the confidence to say, maybe I will be okay if I choose that route. And to know that they thought that they had somebody that could help them walk through that, I truly felt honored. Like at the end of the day, girl, if you see this, just know that that time that we spent together, just you coming to ask me to help you, I truly felt honored. Um, and I hope I, I hope that I at least gave you a little insight that you were able to use and was beneficial to your life. Sorry for that, y'all. Side note, but truly, that situation did show me that very much what this quote said, like your survival in certain things sometimes is a literal miracle. And like I said, sometimes other people see that miracle in your survival and they have to bring it to your attention and really kind of show you the impact that you're having on them surviving that situation for you to really understand and realize like that is like that truly is a miracle. Even if there's multiple people that have been through it, your outcome may be different than theirs. The perspective that you have on that situation may be different than somebody else that went through the same situation. And so, as I said, it's just important to always try to reflect on and recognize the different things that you've survived, because we don't want to minimize those things. We want to honor those situations, honor those experiences, and honor God and show Him, like I said, God, I see you, Lord. I see you out here doing the miracles that we need done, even if they're not ones that we always hear people recognize as miracles. And so I do want to say that I'm a miracle. My survival is a miracle for sure. Because there's some days where I just was like, oof, Lord. Mm. But not only is my survival a miracle, but your survival is a miracle as well. And I want to encourage you and let you know that everything that you've gone through, all those hard seasons, all those tough seasons, all those dark seasons, all those seasons where you could not see past the next 10 seconds, where you just felt like, I don't even know how I'm going to get through the next 10 seconds of my life. You did it. It was a miracle. It's still a miracle. And there's many more miracles waiting on you. So make sure that you recognize the miracle that you are, recognize the miracle that you've been through, and recognize the miracles that have happened for you to be able to survive all the things that you have. And remember that if you are a believer of Jesus and a follower of Him and you believe in His daddy, there are many more miracles that can happen on your behalf. You just have to be willing to recognize and remember the ones that have already happened so that you can have an easier process of having faith in God and knowing that He will provide whatever miracles that you need to make it through the next seasons of your life. But also recognize those things for yourself so that you can have faith in yourself to know that you have the ability and you are capable of surviving and making it to that miracle that you need to get through. Like I said, the next 10 seconds sometimes. Literally, sometimes the next 10 seconds of your life is the hardest. It's not the future. It's not what's going to happen in next year or next day. It's literally what's about to happen in these next couple of seconds that we have to focus on and recognize. So remember that you are a soul worthy of recognizing your survival, recognizing the miracle that you are, and recognizing that at the end of the day, my soul is worth it. My soul is worth whatever I have to go through to get through the next 10 seconds so that I can become a better person. If I'm not where I want to be at today, I am going to get there. And all I need is a little more time. I'm not behind, I just need more time. So thank you for listening. And thank you for supporting. Always remember, if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe, like, share, and provide feedback. You got anything you want to say, any correction you want to give, any constructive criticism, all that good stuff, leave it in the comments, send a message, whatever you see fit. But make sure that you come back and continue to grow with me as we grow together and help me to help you to discover why your soul is so worthy of the work that needs to be done so that we can live the best life possible.